Welcome back to the Buffalo Bread Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Roberts, here for the continuing off-season tradition, a tradition unlike any other, Friends of the Pod, Not Friends of the Bills, NFC East edition. We are here with Logan DeLutis, one of our newest co-hosts here, to talk about the New York Giants, their turbulent yet productive offseason, and to chat a little bit about where he thinks the G-men are going to head this season in the wake of the firing of Brian Daboll last year. Low-key also, we have brought Logan on for a covert operation. For those of you that listen to this pod, you know that JJ is very pro football, very anti-baseball. Logan happens to be a massive baseball fan and a Yankees fan, something him and I share in common. So in reality, we're going to blow through some football talk so we can get to the meat of the matter, which is why the Yankees should fire Aaron Boone at the end of this pod. Logan, welcome back to the pod. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure to be back. I think this is our third rendition now of our get-together. Yeah.
Three-time co-host. So we don't have anything as extravagant as SNL for a five-time co-host, but just know that 3 is like rarefied air. It means you're a regular and we'll have you back anytime.
Glad to be in rare company. It's great to be back. I'm excited to talk Giants. I'm excited to talk Yankees. So,
I mean, that's the real reason that you're here. JJ is probably going to be listening to this as skin crawling, but no, first time ever, history being made on Buffalo Bread. We are talking ball as in baseball at the end of this pod. Dude, cannot wait. All right. So Logan, just real quick, reintroduce yourself to the fans at home, right? So you are a Giants fan, but you also have a Ravens fan in the family in the form of your brother. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So you've got some interesting synergies here in the offseason with the Harbaugh move, all your free agency moves. Tell us a little bit about your Giants fandom, and then is there tension with you and your brother right now over what's gone down between your two teams?
Yeah, so I've been a Giants fan for years. I was a Giants fan when Eli Manning, killed Tom Brady. So I was a Giants fan when Odell Beckham took the world by storm with his miraculous one-handed catch. So I've been a Giants fan for years. I've seen the highs and the lows and everything in between. As far as tension goes between my brother and I, there was a few choice words shot back and forth to each other over the past few months between John Harbaugh coming to the Giants and then him bringing about half his roster with him.
No kidding.
Which I know we'll get into further, but he my brother kind of knew it was coming with him. He knew Harbaugh's reign was coming to an end in Baltimore. Was he thrilled that it happened? Not really. Was he thrilled he lost half his roster? Definitely not. But it's been an interesting ride for the past couple months. I've been picking on him, so hopefully I can rub it in his face a little more this year.
There you go. It'll have the sibling rivalry will have a little extra juice to it this year, right? With what's on the line. But low key, Baltimore landed, I think, probably my favorite head coach candidate in Jesse Minter. And also, man, they got a real one in Anthony Weaver with the DC. Maybe I should have your brother on to talk Ravens at some point. Cause I don't love their roster positioning right now. Thanks to your guy Harbaugh, but Ravens low key could do some things in the draft that'll make them interesting. So, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about your G-men, sir. So let's quick recap 2025, and then we're going to dive right into it. I'll give you the floor. So I think the most notable thing that happened, well, two things really. You had the emergence of Jackson Dart. Flyer at the end of the first round of the draft last year, ends up getting real starting time, real reps, and you see immediately kind of the talent. More importantly, I think the energy, leadership, and juice that he brought to the clubhouse as a rookie. Daboll, who had hitched his wagon to Dart, fired mid-year, which I think we can all agree was the right move, even us Bills fans. Daboll will never pay for a beer in Buffalo for what he did for Josh Allen, but by the same token, Daboll was ill-befitting of a head coach job. Shane was interesting. A lot of people criticized the move to get rid of Daboll, but not to get rid of Shane. Mara keeps Shane, but it's really clear, and we'll get into this later, that with the arrival of John Harbaugh, Shane has in fact been retained, but in reality, he has been demoted to basically head scout at this point. So all of that turbulence, all of that change, here we are. Before we get into 2026, Logan, listen, we always like to start on a positive note with the pod. So even though it was not the season you guys hoped for win-loss wise, some good stuff happened, right? So why don't you quick give us your highlights from the 2025 season for your New York Giants?
Yeah, I think as far as highlights go, we'll start with Jackson Dart because I know you mentioned him. Jackson Dart, I think, proved to the league that he's a franchise guy. He's our franchise quarterback. He is the guy. We drafted him for a reason. Um, he has proven himself in the opportunities that he's gotten. Now, um, a lot of people might criticize it hasn't shown record wise, but he put up good numbers. He made a lot of plays. He put a team that didn't expect to win in a lot of winning positions. Um, so that's one big highlight is getting your franchise quarterback that we've been longing to have. Um, I think a second highlight for us from last year, and it kind of played into Jackson Dart's success, was offensive line improvement. I think our offensive line took a big step forward, especially from the start of the year. We saw at the start of the year Russell Wilson struggled to get the ball out, didn't have a lot of time, and it seemed towards the end of the year as our offensive line got healthier, we really found that group on the line that kind of clicked and worked well together and was able to mesh and protect the quarterback and allow our quarterback to make plays, as well as our running backs as well. We saw Cam Scadaboo and Tyrone Tracy run for a lot of yards. Cam Scadaboo had some huge games. Tyrone Tracy had some huge games when Scat went down later in the year. So taking that big step on the offensive line side that struggled for how many years now was really nice to see. Um, I think Wandell Robinson's career year at receiver was another positive note. Um, it kind of makes you wonder what's in store for Malik Neighbors when he's fully healthy. Now having that guy to throw him the ball and make plays with them, what's in store for him. And as I kind of touched on before, that run game with Scadaboo and Tracy um, kind of gives you some reminders of Jacobs and the Bradshaw era from back during the Super Bowl. Those two guys that aren't afraid to take hits and have some contact and run through people and be a physical backfield that teams are scared of. So I think those were a few of the major highlights in my eyes. Um, Although the record didn't show, it was an exciting year for me. I think there's a lot of positives to take forward into this year, into this new era, and hopefully build on that and become more successful.
And I think a lot of the success that you mentioned from 2025, again, even though it didn't show up in the win-loss record, I think it's got a lot of people picking you guys as like this year's Patriots and
Yeah.
Harbaugh as this year's
Mm-hmm.
Vrabel. You know what I mean? And we'll talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that. But I mean, honestly, the way that things have played out for you guys in free agency, you've shored up a lot of holes, right? You've got a great opportunity in the draft with a top 5 pick
Mm-hmm.
to further solidify that young defensive core that Shane's built out over the past few years. You guys have some opportunity. Before we get to any of that, let's talk from a big picture organizational view. It is literally a new world order, not just with Harbaugh, but with some of
Mm-hmm.
the changes that you guys have with ownership. So, Logan, I want to start here. The Tishes are transferring their ownership stake to a trust as a result
Mm-hmm.
of Steve Tish's appearance here in the Epstein files. So for Bills fans that are unfamiliar with the role that Tishes play versus the Maras play, because we all know the Mara family is the ones that really run the show there. But
Mm-hmm.
Steve Tisch has had an executive position with the Giants for some time now.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of us Bills fans, a little bit of a primer as what, if anything, changes with the changing role of Steve Tisch in this organization.
Yeah. So I think truly that the move is more of a planning for the future than anything. Um, Kind of the stuff I've read has been more of stuff will continue as usual, jobs will continue as usual. It'll be kind of the status quo around the organization. Um, the Tishes never really held a big presence on the football side of things. That was more of the Mara family and John Mara making those real executive decisions on the football side, although the Tishes did have some say in what kind of happened. They played a role in who we hired as head coach and bringing in John Harbaugh. They do have a presence there, but they're more of the corporate side. And of course, the transitioning over of that stake in the team to that fund was obviously not a great time, as Steve Tish's name was brought up in the Epstein files and that whole situation unfolded. Um, that dark cloud has seemed to blown over for the time being. But again, I think it'll be the status quo as normal for the New York Giants. I think jobs and responsibilities from that side of things will continue as normal. Um, I don't think we should see much of a change overall.
All right, cool. No, we appreciate those insights for sure. And a lot of Bills fans living in upstate New York, we have Giants, we have family that are Giants fans. Like
Mm,
there are even some Bills fans that are like, oh, well, my second team in the NFC is the Giants. So
yeah.
there is definitely a core of Bills Mafia that is interested in this kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
They're also interested in your new head coach. So we've alluded to it. Let's talk directly about it. Harbaugh, arguably the top head coaching candidate in this year's cycle, a cycle that saw a record amount of coaching vacancies, and very much so, at least the most decorated, right? So you have now gone from a first-time head coach in Brian Daboll, someone who I think we both agree his temperament was not yet made or mature enough to be a head coach, to a wealth of experience in Harbaugh. Give us the ceiling year one. Is this Vrabel-esque? Do you guys make this amazing run that no one is predicting? Are the playoffs on the docket, or is there something kind of in between that you are expecting this season? Where do the G-men go under Harbaugh in 2026, Logan?
Yeah, I think, to start, I think the hire was phenomenal. Me personally, truly wasn't expecting it to be John Harbaugh as much as I wanted it to be when I saw he was available. So I'm thrilled. I'm excited to have a guy with such a wealth of knowledge and a winning culture he's brought to Baltimore. I'm excited to have that brought to New York. Um, as far as where we go in 2026, I do think we have the talent and Harbaugh's knowledge and what he's bringing to the team to be that Patriot-esque kind of team where we go from worst to first. Where I personally see us in the coming year is kind of that middle of the road. I do not think we're going to be where we were last year in 2025. I think we're sitting more middle of the road, winning record, of course, competing with a lot of these good teams that I think teams and fans would normally think we would get smoked by week in and week out. Um, I think Harbaugh's really going to bring a change of culture to this team. I think it's going to be a real culture shock to a lot of people. But I think it's going to be a pleasant shock in the end when, we're winning games. We don't have to worry about, losing by 21 or more every week. So I think it'll be an exciting year. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to turning things around. And I'm hopefully looking forward to, making the playoffs and making a run at another Super Bowl.
Nice. I mean, I do think playoffs are on the docket for you guys.
Yeah.
And he has already started to shift the culture in the way that he is reorganized. So for those folks listening that aren't familiar with the internal workings of the New York
Hmm.
Giants, um, Harbaugh is now reporting to Mara, as
Hmm.
is Shane, right?
Yes.
This is the setup for Bills fans at home that McDermott and Bean had until Brady was hired, and now everything
Hmm.
rolls up in the org chart through Bean, and Bean is the only one reporting directly to Pagula. So bit of a shakeup there, and it's really clear that Joe Shane has a much different role than he did when Daboll was head coach.
Hmm.
Um, Harbaugh's brought in his own senior VP of football operations. He has made all these moves to remake the roster. We joked he brought half of Baltimore with him, but he really kind of did.
Yeah.
So it's clear that optimism reigns supreme in New York, but it's also clear that Harbaugh has a lot of say in personnel decisions. And Logan, the
Hmm.
history of head coaches that have a huge load to bear on the personnel side of things has not been great for on-field results. Add to
Hmm.
that I actually think you were one of the bigger fans of Shane and the way that he drafted. So
Hmm.
overall, how do you feel about Harbaugh asserting himself into the personnel game, and how do you feel about Shane's new role with the organization?
Yeah, I don't hate it overall. I think this new role with Harbaugh is, I think it's partly him kind of using that history he has in the league to his advantage as far as his stature goes in the organization. He's a guy that's obviously been around the block for years and years. He expects that kind of respect in an organization. I think he wants that when it comes to rebuilding a team. He hasn't had to do this in a while. He's had a team in Baltimore that's been talented year in and year out, although they didn't get the results they wanted. And I'll pick on my brother a little bit. They were a disappointment when it really got down to it. He's had that roster, though, to compete every year. I think this is a first time in a long time where he's kind of rebuilding the team, and trying to get them to that winning culture. Um, with that being said, though, and talking about Joe Shane, I think Joe Shane still brings a lot of value to this organization. I've always said it that I've loved the way he's drafted. I think he's brought a lot of good young talent to the Giants that, you know, not everyone always works out, but I think we've had a good group of guys in the time Joe Shane's been our general manager that have been very good products for this team, and very good NFL talents. Um, so I think it's important for the Giants to keep utilizing that. Um, I really don't want us to wash away our relationship with Joe Shane. I'm kind of worried it's heading in that direction. Um, but I also think Joe Shane hasn't made the best calls with personnel of the organization. I think he's let the leash draw out a little too long for guys. Um, it resulted in some bad games last year. I think it resulted in Dable being kept around for a little longer than he should have. So I think ultimately, you know, it got to a point where even I think Morrow was fed up, and he's like, "Listen, you're not making the right calls at personnel of this organization. We're going to change it up. We're still going to use your value for scouting and drafting, rookies. Um, but we got to change something," which I don't entirely disagree with. Um, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how everything turns out in this year and, next year as we really get into Harbaugh's reign as head coach and, kind of how you stated, the CEO of the organization. But I'm excited. I hope Shane still is like really committed to this organization. I hope he hasn't, lost love for the organization because of this. Um, you know him very well. He kind of has that edgy side to him where he's not really afraid to give his opinion or like hint at his own personal opinion. Um, I obviously don't want any friction between anyone because that never turns out well for anyone in the organization. So, but I'm excited. I think there's a lot of potential to do good things here with the way we're setting up the organization. So, again, really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out. I wonder if this is a one and done experiment for Shane kind of in
Yeah.
this new role,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Especially if things it's always so interesting. We experience this as Bills fans with
Mm-hmm.
McDermott's firing, the
Mm-hmm.
PR campaign that happens behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
even Brandon Beane in the course of the season, leaking to the media all the trades he was in on but never made.
Yeah.
Should things I'm rooting for you guys to be interesting and successful this year, but if
Mm-hmm.
things don't go well this season, it'll be interesting to see, especially with that New York media like cesspool that's going on down
Yeah.
there,
Mm-hmm.
what the sniping looks like between Harbaugh and Shane's camps should
Yeah.
things not go well this year. Should
Yeah.
should Isaiah likely get injured or not perform well? You know what I mean? Who
Mm-hmm.
bears the blame for that? So
Yeah.
so definitely some interesting things to see. But I
Mm-hmm.
think I think hope should reign supreme for you guys, mostly because it looks like you got your quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And it is so key to pair your QB with a good offensive coordinator, particularly when you got a head coach like Harbaugh, who is
Mm-hmm.
more that CEO style. He cut his teeth in special teams, really doesn't have a side of the primary side of the ball that he favors. So
Mm-hmm.
his coordinator hires are always interesting because these guys are going to have free reign over their side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So he brings in Matt Nagy, a guy who recently had a stint with the Chiefs,
Mm-hmm.
working with Patrick Mahomes. Before that, head coach for the Chicago Bears. Has had a lot of up and downs in his career. Isn't the most creative play caller, but he's a guy that knows how to build offensive infrastructure around a mobile QB. So talk
Mm-hmm.
to me a little bit about how you feel about the Nagy hire and if you think this is the right move for Dart's overall development.
Yeah. I think at first I was a little iffy on it. You had mentioned it. Matt Nagy doesn't exactly run the most exciting and shiny offensive scheme that we kind of see a lot of nowadays in the NFL. Um, but with that being said, he has coached a Super Bowl winning team, both as a QB coach and as an offensive coordinator. Um, I know some people, there's debate on how much he really called the offense that year with Andy Reid, but still, nonetheless, he was the OC of a Super Bowl winning team. And he also coached a quarterback who is in the argument for greatest of all time, for multiple years. So, taking that all into consideration, I think it can be really good for Jackson Dart. This is a guy, again, with a wealth of knowledge in the NFL. He's been around the block. He's had success. He's had success with a guy who plays with a somewhat similar play style as Jackson Dart, a guy who likes to get out of the pocket, move the ball downfield, move around the field himself, and run the ball, take risks, scramble. So I think if Matt Nagy can channel that and channel what he channeled with Patrick Mahomes, I think there's endless success there between the two of them. I'm very intrigued to see what this offense will look like. I'm interested to see if Harbaugh will kind of influence Matt Nagy to add a little more spice to what he calls in an offense and not be overly bland like, I kind of mentioned he's been in the past. But again, I think Matt Nagy can be really good for Jackson Dart. This is a guy who can develop him, help him understand the ropes of the NFL and really set his feet in the league. Because again, Jackson Dart's a guy who has wanted to learn, even from his start of his rookie year. He always wanted to learn. He's got two guys there as veterans in the quarterback room that can help him learn as well. It's nothing but an endless wealth of knowledge for Jackson Dart that I think can only help him.
Yeah. And I think that is the benefit of bringing in a steady hand, right?
Yeah.
May not be like the splashy Mike McDaniel hire that everyone that had an OC opening wanted McDaniel this year. No one wanted the dude as a head coach, but everyone wanted him as an OC, right? May not have the splash and the creativity of that, but Nagy is in fact a steady hand. And when you've got a guy like Dart that plays at 1,000 miles an hour, you need someone like that to, I think, have a counterweight to that personality type. And Daboll was not that. Daboll was headbutting Dart on the sideline. Like Daboll didn't know how to teach a young QB in Dart how to modulate his emotion on the field, right? And make some of those more cerebral decisions. And I think Nagy will have that calming influence on Dart. I do think it's a smart move in that regard. So ultimately we'll see what the structure of the offense looks like. You guys, improved O-line situation. Scatterboo comes back healthy. You've got a decent run game. You got to replace Robinson in wide receiver room, but Harbaugh has, as we have said, has had a busy off season, right?
Yeah.
So going into that, going away from like some of the coaching, organizational moves, let's talk about this roster and dudes that'll actually play in between the sidelines here. So give us your top 3 free agent moves, Logan, that the Giants have made so far this offseason.
Yeah. Obviously, kind of like you mentioned, Harbaugh has been busy. We've been busy in all facets of free agency, from getting rid of guys to adding guys. So my top 3 guys that we added, well, 2 are adds, one's a re-sign. The first add is Tremaine Edmunds, linebacker coming from Chicago.
I hate this for you. I hate this for us. Love it for you. Yes.
A team who obviously made the playoffs last year and had a lot of success under new head coach Ben Johnson. I think he's a phenomenal player. I was surprised to see Chicago let him go. And I was happy that we got him. This is a guy who, in every season of his NFL career, has 100+ tackles. He's a seasoned postseason player. He's been in multiple postseason games, so he has that under his belt. This is also, funny enough, a Joe Schoen product in Buffalo.
Correct.
He was drafted by Joe Schoen out of Virginia Tech into Buffalo, so it's kind of ironic and interesting to see that reunion. So I think Tremaine Edmunds is a great add. It fills kind of a hole we have at linebacker. I know this isn't another one of my top ones, but we have McFadden back, so pairing those two together I think can be really nice. So that's my first one. My second one is Greg Newsome, and I know I mentioned to you off the pod, I loved this signing. Greg Newsome is obviously a proven corner. He's proven himself with Cleveland. He was a corner in the years where Cleveland was a top defense in the league, when they were shutting everyone down in the pass game. I think he is a great add to be opposite of Paulson Adebo, to help us in the pass game, which has over the past few years been abysmal. And our corners have just been not good, haven't performed well. So I think he's a very good add. My third, and this is the re-sign that I loved, is Jermaine Illuminor. Begged for them to re-sign him. I mean, this is a guy who I think he was the glue guy for our offensive line. He's a veteran. He's a proven veteran. He's one of the best tackles in the league. Um, Although he's not Dart's blindside tackle, he still protects Dart very well. He's one of the top win rate guys in the league as far as tackle goes. Um, and he's just a much needed veteran to keep on kind of an overall young offensive line. We still have some guys who are trying to develop into starters and proven offensive linemen for us that can hopefully help us, like Evan Neal. And I think he's a good guy to have that can hopefully help those guys develop and into players that can help our team and be good linemen for us. So those are three of my top signings. I could probably have a few more if I really thought about them, but yeah, those are my top guys so far for free agency.
And this is the interesting thing. You very correctly point out Edmonds being a Shane product, but Greg Newsome as well. He was part of that weird COVID year draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills ended up going Greg Rousseau, Boogie Basham in back-to-back rounds. Word on the street was that they were in on Newsome had he been available to them when they picked.
Mm-hmm.
And they really like Newsome because he's a zone corner, right?
Yeah.
He's had varying levels of success, but the game intelligence is there. The football IQ is there,
mm-hmm.
and he's got enough ability to be a really serviceable DB. So people have made all these jokes about the Baltimore Giants and Harbaugh putting his stamp on this thing, but your top two picks, these are guys that have strong connections to Joe Shane as well. So I do wonder if maybe there is a little bit more synergy here behind the scenes between Harbaugh and Shane than anyone would be led to believe. But I hate that you guys got Edmonds. The minute he was released, I was like, please, Brandon Beane, go bring him back. You're gonna love watching Tremaine Edmonds play football.
Yeah.
He is a mistake corrector at the second level. He will blot out the sun with his wingspan. He will divert open passing lanes for opposing QBs. He is an absolute hoover in the run game as well at the second level. Like, linebackers notoriously need to be kept clean by their defensive linemen in order to be effective in the run game. Tremaine Edmonds just doesn't. That dude just is going to ball out no matter what. He is he is like a red oak tree in the middle of that defense now. And I hate that you guys got him. I'm so mad. All right. But you guys still do have few holes on the roster. Wide receiver comes to mind, the loss of Robinson, the lack of clarity on where Neighbors is with his recovery. So, like, where does this roster to you still have some holes? Go for it.
So I know I kind of mentioned Illuminor and being that glue guy for the line and helping guys develop. I think right guard right now is a big hole for us still on that line.
Yes.
Jay Kubis is not it. He's not the answer. We've reportedly been in on some guys like Elijah Vera Tucker for that guard position. Unfortunately, we lost out on that. That was a guy I really wanted. But then again, word on the street and kind of rumors is Evan Neal that guy? If he moved to guard, is he going to be that guy?
Please kick him inside. Yes.
That's kind of the rumor. Is he really going to get a shot this year to prove that he's that guy on the inside and maybe take that spot and earn that spot and prove himself? We'll see. But we do need a guy on that right side of the offensive line to fill that hole. So that's one of them. A second need, and you kind of mentioned it, is receiver. We've had a couple receiver signings and Darnell Mooney and Calvin Austin. Not really what I was looking for at receiver signing. I mean, Darnell Mooney is a very good receiver. Calvin Austin's a pretty good slot guy, but I think we're still missing that real number two to be next to Neighbors. We signed Slayton to that big contract. Slayton's not it either. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, Slayton's not that number two that we need. Maybe Darnell Mooney in a new environment can be that. I know he had a down year with some injuries and, really wasn't going his way in Atlanta over the last couple of years. Maybe this new environment again can be something good for Darnell Mooney, and maybe he can develop into that number two. But again, we need that number two receiver to take some of that pressure off of Neighbors as our number one. Um, and number three, again, although we signed Greg Newsome, I still think we need help at corner. Paulson Adebo being hurt a lot last year and also not really proving that he's that star corner that everyone thought he was after that year with the Saints. Um, I think we still need some help. Drew Phillips took a step back after his rookie year in that slot corner position. So it'll be interesting to see if we try to fill one of those holes, if we maybe bump Adebo to a different spot, if Drew Phillips lost his opportunity and we try to fill that gap with another kind of inside corner guy. But corner still, I think, is an area on our defense that needs a lot of help.
Yeah, I think you have very correctly identified where you guys are at. Interior offensive line for sure. Wide receiver, absolutely, especially because Shane was really cagey about Neighbor's injury and what his return timeline looks like. I got the sense that they found some stuff when they were in there. Like, he's still in a cast, isn't he?
He was in the cast for a long time. I think he was in the non-mobile brace, the straight leg kind of brace for longer than normally expected. I think the rumor going around was there was potentially some meniscus issues in his knee. His swelling took a while to go down, so obviously not stuff I want to hear as a guy who's a very good, he's on our team. He's a very good receiver. So it'll be interesting to see when we start getting into OTAs and camp what's really going on. Maybe we'll get a little more clarity, but no, I 100% agree with you that they really haven't shed a lot of light in this injury, and they've kind of been holding back on telling people what's really going on. I don't really understand why. Just tell us. I mean, what's going to happen is going to happen. He's either going to be ready at the start of the year or he's not. So.
Yeah, right now it feels like he's trending not. But despite all that, and despite the holes that you've mentioned, you guys have an opportunity, not just in post-draft free agency wave, but in the draft itself to address these needs. And you guys are sitting with yet another premium pick this year, Logan. You guys have the 5th pick this year in the draft. Real quick, tell us here, day one of the draft, pick number 5, who are the Giants selecting?
Out of the Ohio State University, Sonny Styles.
Yes. This is who I wanted you to say. Yes. Okay, go. Yep. We did not plan this, folks. Yes, go.
So, Sonny Styles. Of course, we signed Tremaine Edmonds at the linebacker position. We have Micah McFadden coming back from a year-ending injury last year. But still, this linebacker core is an injury away from another disastrous year. And Sonny Styles can help give us some depth that we need at linebacker to round out that defense. He's a versatile guy that can rush the passer. He can play a little bit of linebacker. He can cover. I think he's a perfect guy for this defense, who showed to be very well running that kind of speed defense, getting after the quarterback, getting after the offense. I think he fits perfectly. I think he can be that Tremaine Edmonds kind of guy where he's all over the place. Coverage, run, assisting the D-line that, of course, was among league worst, if not league worst, in run defense last year. I think he'd be a great pick for us, and that's what I'm praying for when pick 5 comes around.
Absolutely, because you guys could use some help on the interior defensive line, and help may be coming, right? There's still guys available in free agency and in the draft, but I mean, to have the range of an Edmonds and a Styles at that second level would be madness. No one's ever getting past the 5-yard line on you guys. You know what I mean? And forget about it in pure passing situations. They're just going to erase like tight ends. They're going to, that situation with Styles and Edmonds. Are you a Marvel movie fan by any chance? You ever watch Guardians of the Galaxy?
I have watched Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's funny because I made an Avengers reference for something we're going to talk about, but continue.
Nice. I was going to say, having Edmonds and Styles is like having Groot and Rocket Raccoon at the second level of your defense, man. It's going to be a match made in heaven, and I really hope the Giants go that way.
Yeah, me too.
My second pick for you guys is Caleb Downs, because also out of the Ohio State University, because he's like this Yeah, he's a safety, but he really is this positionless chess piece a la Kyle Hamilton
Yep.
that DC's absolutely covet. And I think there's a
Mhm.
real shot he's there at pick 5 for you. So
Yeah.
I honestly, there's so just pick an Ohio State guy. Carnell Tate, if you want to go with the wide receiver, you know what I mean? So
Exactly. Yeah.
just pick an Ohio State guy, Joe Shane and Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh, and nothing's going to go wrong. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Oh, I'm
going
so
back
glad you picked Styles.
to Styles too. I mean, this is a guy who blew everyone away at the combine. I mean, no one expected him to
4.43
put up
speed. Just
the
crazy.
metrics that he did at the combine, which I mean only helps him at the end of the day, of course, with his draft stock. But I mean, it shows that he's a pure athlete that I would love to have on our defense.
He's an athlete that knows how to play within a defensive structure
Yeah.
too. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, Ohio State, they run a real NFL defense out there.
Yeah.
So there are advanced concepts. He comes in day one ready to fit into almost any NFL scheme.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would be so happy for you if you got to watch Styles and Edmonds play football together this year.
Yeah.
Just wild stuff. All right.
Hmm.
All right, real quick, let's wrap this up so we can get to what we're really here for,
Yeah.
Logan, which is to talk about the Yankees. All right. Predictions for 2026. Lightning round, give it to me quick.
Yep.
Win-loss record, team MVP, surprise breakout star, and then do the Giants make the playoffs this year?
All right. Record 10-7 is the record for this year. That's what I'm going. I
Reasonable.
think we'll make the playoffs 10-7. Team MVP, Malik Neighbors comes back from his gruesome knee injury. He's got a real pass thrower, his real quarterback. He puts up great numbers at receiver, team MVP.
Nice.
Surprise breakout star, Tyler Nubin. I think he takes a big step at safety. I think he's a guy that Denard Wilson will like to have in his defense. He's got good football IQ. He can move all over the place, fill the run, play the pass a little bit. I think he is a surprise breakout star for us. And do the Giants make the playoffs? I mentioned it already. Yes, the Giants make the playoffs. Um, watch out. I think we're coming. We're coming.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Philly just always seemed like is an every other year situation.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, it all depends on if Daniels is healthy. And then, yeah,
And
man.
Dallas is
And
Dallas.
Dallas is, I was just going to say, I was like, what do I say about the Cowboys other than
Yep.
that they're just the Cowboys, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, man. So there is a real shot that 10-7 is attainable for you. I like the
Mm-hmm.
Nubin pick too. I love that kid coming out of Minnesota.
Yeah. I loved him when we drafted him. So,
Dude, just
I'm
so
excited.
many. We joke about this at work, but so many of the guys on your roster are guys I have wanted the Bills to get in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? So 10-7 would be great.
They're still in red, white, and blue, just not
Just
Bills red, white, and blue.
exactly. Rocking the blue helmets, not the whites. So yeah.
Yep.
All right, man. Awesome Giants talk as always. Let's get to the reason everybody is here. So, folks, if you are not a baseball fan, this is where you want to tune out. Thank you for listening. Is Logan, for those of you watching on YouTube, it's his wardrobe chains, Giants jersey off, Yankees t-shirt on. Let's get into it. And we're going to dive right in. We're going to get right into the meat of it, sir. So, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon. They both have a chance to come back healthy this year. Jury is out on when they'll be back. Some say May for Rodon, June for Cole, vice versa. We'll see. We also have a human tree and Carlos LaGrange waiting in the wings with 101 mile an hour stuff as a potential addition to either as a spot starter, long reliever. All that being said, the Yankees have a really solid rotation before Cole and Rodon get back. Will the Yankees have the best rotation / bullpen situation in the AL when fully healthy? Logan, go.
Yes.
Yes, I love this take.
I think we do. No other team in the American League, or I will say in the entire MLB, has 3 aces in their starting rotation. Rodon has been an ace, can still be an ace for any team. I won't say any team, most teams. Max Fried, same thing. He was our ace last year. Proven guy, pitched extremely well last year when we needed him to. And Garrett Cole's Garrett Cole. I have no worries about Garrett Cole coming back. He may get that, that normal phenomenon with those kind of surgeries where he ticks up his velo for a year. We'll see. He's debuting a new windup. In his 1 inning of work, he threw very well. And then, of course, we have young guys, maybe Luis Heel. We see him this year. You mentioned LaGrange. He's shown to have really good stuff in spring training. Um,
Insane. His velocity is insane.
although today wasn't a great outing for him, um, but Schlittler obviously pitched very well for us in the playoffs. Um, has nasty stuff. Another flamethrower for us. Um, Ryan Weathers will start as a starter this year. He's kind of an X factor guy for us. So I think with all those pieces together, I mean, you got, how many guys right there? 5 to 7 guys that can really make up a rotation that I think truly is the best in the American League, if not the MLB.
I totally agree. And I think what we just talked about is probably the answer to this next question I'm going to ask you. But the Yankees had a league best record coming out of the All-Star break last year. They, of course, fizzled in the postseason, much to our chagrin, which has been the case under Aaron Boone. Like, this team has a really clear ceiling. What, if anything, gets them over the postseason hump this year?
It's using that young depth. I mean, we've always had a really strong farm system and failed to use the young depth to our advantage. You see these teams that go very far every year. I'll use last year for example. The Blue Jays, the Dodgers. These are all teams with deep benches and depth that they use to their advantage. They use them in games where these guys have good splits against certain pitchers. They may, run better, and they use them in certain scenarios. They use their depth. That's where I think we've fallen short on. I think we're very hell-bent on using certain people and trying forcing them until we're forced to not use them anymore. It's using our young depth. I'd like to see LaGrange get a chance this year in some sort of role. I think Heel is still a good pitcher. I'd love to see Dominguez get another shot in the majors.
Yes.
So maybe we'll see Spencer Jones this year if we have some injuries. Who knows? But
dude,
it's using that depth, and I think it's getting away from kind of really relying on that veteran presence that, of course, is great to have, but, the game is speeding up real fast, and these veterans who have been around for a while, it's going to pass them right by. So I think utilizing that can certainly get us over that hump.
100%. And this really dives perfectly into my next question for you. And it's about the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And you've already mentioned some names and Dominguez and Jones that I would love to see get a shot in this lineup. But dude, this conversation about the lineup has dominated maybe the last 2 years of our Yankees conversations. It's an imbalanced offense, right? It's a lot of high exit velo guys. It's a lot of home run sluggers, a lot of bodybuilders throughout the course of this. Even a guy like Jazz Chisholm, the minute he gets into Yankee Stadium, he's swinging for that short porch in left field. You know what I mean? So like, this is an offense with a clear philosophy, but it is a one-dimensional philosophy.
Yeah.
Is there a trade target that you see still out there, or is there someone, like you already mentioned, in the farm system that you could see come up and really bring some balance and some lethality to this offense?
Yeah, I don't think it's trade so much as it's, again, using these young guys we have in the farm system. We've talked about this before. We're notorious for blocking out our young guys who have a chance to come and crack the major league roster and provide a spark to our kind of aging major league roster. And with the offense, I think it's getting back to a kind of slower pace and slower approach at the plate, meaning, maybe capitalize on those walks more. You see the Blue Jays capitalize on walks. I mean, they're a phenomenal team at taking what they get.
Yes.
And
oh my God.
Look how far it got them last year. Obviously they use their guys in scenarios that can hit home runs, and Vladdy, and, obviously George Springer has some pop. When Bo Bichette was with them, Bo Bichette has pop. But they weren't always trying to force the ball out of the park. That's where I think, like you said, we hurt ourselves. We're forcing the ball over the fence. And again, I get we play in a hitter's ballpark, but at the same time, you wear these teams down, you get walks, you get hits after hits. you're going to get starters out in 4 innings, 5 innings, because as we see now in the game of Major League Baseball, nobody's really racking up the pitches anymore. It's a long season. And a lot of these teams, especially these teams that have playoff hopes, they're not pitching their guys very deep when they don't need to. So if you get on them quick, you force those, long at bats, those high pitch count at bats. You're going to get those guys out of the game. You're going to get more runs, maybe develop more hits, put guys in better scenarios to hit. That's what I think we haven't done. We're going up there with nobody on base. We're trying to get a spark to happen, and it doesn't. So um, and I think I had mentioned it a minute ago, using those young guys. I think we have good depth. I think when we talked about this, in the past, we have one of the deepest benches we've had in years.
Mm-hmm.
But using that bench is a whole nother thing. You can have a deep bench, but you have to use it. And it goes back to my previous point to using it like these other teams to our advantage. And I think guys like Dominguez, Jones can provide a spark to this lineup that might be needed, whether it's speed, Jones providing a little power here and there, because as we all know, Stan's elbows are turning to dust as we speak. So, maybe being that DH guy and taking over that role for Stan.
Yes, please.
There's a lot of different scenarios we could go, but I think, again, using those young guys can really help us.
Yeah, something that the Yankees have seemed so allergic to, right, over the
Yeah.
past. I mean, at least during Boone's tenure. And I don't know if it's a Cashman thing. I don't know if it's a Boone thing. The way
Yeah.
they yo-yo these kids from the farm system to the majors and then back,
Yeah.
like, so, I mean, Spencer Jones has nothing left to prove in AAA, as far as I'm concerned, right? There is no developmental benefit to him still being there. Let's, like Jason Dominguez, same thing. Let's just get these guys up and let's see what they do, right? And if they end up being busts, it is what it is. You're the Yankees. You're not devoid of resources, trade or free agency, to be able to fill a hole if the farm system prospect doesn't pan out. Drives me nuts. It just it drives me crazy. Okay. I get more amped up talking about the Yankees with you than I ever get amped up talking about the Bills, right? The Bills is more like the Bills is more because we've never won anything as Bills fans, right? So it's like, oh man, shucks, it sure would be nice. Here we are again. The Yankees, I have been raised on excellence, and I haven't seen the excellence in a long time, Logan.
I know.
All right. Speaking of excellence, the Dodgers exist, and we just had this great conversation about how the Yankees can compete, how they can get over the hump. Should the Yankees make the World Series, is any of it going to matter? Is everyone in the AL basically just planning to lose to the Dodgers this year?
I don't think so. And this is the reference I was talking about earlier. I know everyone kind of looks at the Dodgers like the Avengers in baseball uniforms, but it's a long season. Nobody knows what anyone's going to look like at the end of the year. We know that very well with the injuries we see to our pitching rotation year in and year out. It seems like for the past couple of years, nobody knows what the Dodgers are going to look like. And although they're a very good team on paper, baseball is a crazy game. Anyone can win on any given day, and a 7-game series is a very long series. So I don't entirely think everyone's playing to lose to the Dodgers. Hell, I'd love to see us get back in the World Series against the Dodgers and get some redemption for a couple of years ago, and take a World Series from them. So, I think it'll be an exciting year. Again, I think anyone can win on any given day, and of course, I hope it's our Yankees all the way in October at the very end, hoisting that trophy. So.
Dude, you want all the smoke from LA. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. I'm not as confident as you, but I'm not gonna ruin the fierceness of your take with my own anxiety about whether or not the Yankees can beat the Dodgers. All right. Hopefully, for those of you that are still with us, this was a painless baseball conversation. We've got one more question for you, Logan. Final record prediction, and where does the season end this year for the Yankees?
Final record prediction, and I think you're going to be shocked by this. 103-59.
What?
Yep.
Really? Okay. All right. I from the strength of the pitching, I totally get that. But like that's 103 wins is significant. Now, all right, but let's play that out. So still a relatively imbalanced schedule. So we're going to play a lot of the AL East, and
Yep.
it Boston improved, but doesn't scare me. Baltimore probably taking a step back. Toronto still legit competition, and then Tampa Bay. You just who knows from year to year, right? With them,
Yeah.
like yes. So I could definitely see a positive record within the division. 103, man. Okay. All right. I could get on that. I was thinking you were going to go more like, 98 wins, maybe 99, but 103 is a very strong take. Tell me what's behind that, right? Why do you think they're going to cross the century mark this year?
I think, again, it goes back to, although we have a conversation about our offense and being kind of one dimensional, I think, again, having the depth that we have this year and hoping that Boone and whoever he's listening to in the back end play their cards right, I think this offense can be a problem. I'm hoping Boone kind of wakes up a little bit with some of these combinations I'm hearing he's going with, JC Escara crack in the major league lineup and, things like that. Of course, raise some question marks for me, but then again, I think we got the pieces to make lineups day in and day out, depending on the pitching, that can excel. And I think they excelled last year. And with the pitching, I don't know who competes with our pitching fully healthy, and it's going to get healthy quick.
I'm with that.
It's
yes.
not a all-star break we're waiting for to get fully healthy. I mean, we're talking 1.5 months, and we're rolling with an insane pitching lineup.
That yes.
And again, my biggest worry, like every year with the Yankees, because it seems to be our trend, is when we hit that 20 game, skid of we're 5-15 in 20 games. It happens to every team. I hope it doesn't happen to us, but that's my biggest worry. But I think we can get there. I think like you mentioned, the Blue Jays are a talented team, but they don't terrify me to where we can't compete with them.
For sure.
We were competing with them for the division last year. The Red Sox, I think they did get better. Of course, I think they filled some holes they needed to, but I don't think they filled holes enough to really scare me and threaten the Yankees for number 2 or number 1 in the division. And then the Orioles don't scare me, and the Rays, might as well put them in AAA.
Listen, but those are the years the Rays are the most dangerous. We both know this.
Yeah. And I think the rest of the American League is talented. The Tigers are always making a splash. The Royals seem to regress after their run in the playoffs. The Guardians are always there somehow in the playoffs every year. So we'll see. But I think this is our deepest lineup in a few years, and I think if we play our cards right, game in and game out, week in and week out, I think we can put up good numbers when it comes to the record. And I think we can go deep in playoffs. And I as Brian Cashman said it, I think we can run it back. And I think this time we can win it. But
nice. The pitching for sure gives me hope, man.
Yeah.
Love the takes. I love the fact that we got football and baseball in here. JJ, if you are still listening to this pod, come on, you got to tell me you didn't love that, man. We got to do that more often on the pod, JJ. All right, listen, Logan, thank you for going the extra mile, not just talking about football, bringing a little baseball, a little Yankees chat into it. We appreciate the versatility that you brought. And of course, your strong, clear takes for both New York teams and the Giants and the Yankees. We'll have you back on at some point to revisit kind of where things are at with your G-men. But until then, for all of you listening at home, like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. And as always, go Bills.